Late one night, I stumbled upon a post online from a guy seeking advice. How do I hide my mistress and make my wife at home happily agree to a divorce? The top comment read, "Easy. Just pretend your company has a big opportunity overseas, but you need a certificate of single status. Trick your wife into a fake divorce, tell her it's just on paper, but you'll keep living together. Then you can waltz off with your mistress while your wife stays home to take care of your parents." I was disgusted. The next day, my husband, Daniel, came home from work and said, "Honey, my company has an opportunity to send me abroad for training, but I need proof that I'm single. How about we get a fake divorce?" When Daniel suggested the fake divorce, I immediately thought of that post. Suppressing the revulsion, I decided to test him. "Can't you just not go? The kids are so young and your parents haven't been well lately." He cut me off before I could finish. Realizing his tone was too harsh, he softened his voice. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'll only be gone for 2 years, and who knows, I could come back as a manager. My income would at least double. Honey, I'm only doing this for you, for our family. You'll support me, right?" When I didn't say anything, his expression stiffened. He took my hands, his eyes pleading. "Honey, the divorce is fake. My boss said unmarried employees have more stability. I'm just following company protocol. It's only a paper divorce, and I'll still send you my salary every month. As soon as the job is done, I'll come straight home and we'll get remarried. You have to trust me." Trust him? As if. In this world, there's no such thing as a fake divorce. The moment you sign the papers at the courthouse and get that divorce certificate, it's legally binding. Looking at his sincere, solemn face, the last shred of trust I had vanished. I didn't want to hear any more. I nodded and agreed. "Okay, honey, I'll do whatever you say." Hearing my agreement, Daniel instantly perked up. "No time like the present. Let's go to the courthouse tomorrow." That night, lying in bed, I waited for him to fall asleep so I could check his phone to see who the mistress was. But he's cautious and had tucked his phone under his pillow. I opened the post from the other day, and the guy had updated his situation in the comments. "Got my wife to agree to go to the courthouse with me. Now I'm thinking, once I'm abroad, I'll just fake my death and disappear. That way I don't have to send money home. A few years later, when my parents are gone and the kid is grown, I'll come back to enjoy my golden years." The comments were filled with people praising how smart he was. I couldn't help but use a burner account to leave a comment. "Aren't you afraid of karma for treating your wife like this?" Immediately, a flood of replies fired back, insulting me. "Living with an old hag every day is the biggest karma for guys like us, sweetie. You've probably never been married, have you? Wait until you are, then you'll know no homegrown flower smells as sweet as a wild one." Seeing all the vile, cookie-cutter comments, I got so mad, I just deleted mine. Daniel, completely unaware, was snoring beside me, even blowing snot bubbles. The more I looked at this scumbag, the more I wanted to hit him. I raised my hand and slapped him. He jolted awake from his dream, but before he could react, I hugged him. "Honey, did you have a nightmare? Don't be scared, I'm right here." He felt his face, and since nothing seemed amiss, he mumbled a few words and lay back down. Less than 5 seconds later, he was snoring loudly again. I gritted my teeth and thought, go ahead and leave, just don't expect it to be easy to come back. The next day, Daniel was so excited, he couldn't wait to drag me to the courthouse. There was a 1-month waiting period before the divorce was final. Afraid I would change my mind, he went all out to please me, so much so that even his parents nodded in approval. My daughter even said, "Mommy, Daddy is so nice to you. When I grow up, I want to marry a good husband like him." She was only 4. How could she see a man's true face beneath a sweet mask? That's okay. I'll teach her later that sweet words are only superficial. Tangible benefits are what truly matter. On the day the divorce was finalized, as soon as Daniel got the certificate, he snapped a picture of it and posted it on his thread, updating his progress. Officially a free man. He came home and started packing his bags, telling our daughter and his parents that his company was sending him on a long business trip. No one at home knew we had divorced. As he left, he hugged me, a smile of pure joy on his face. "Honey, I'm leaving now. Please take care of Mom and Dad for me. When I get back, I'll give you a happy life." I pretended to be sad and waved goodbye. When I got back to the room, I found he had taken the joint bank card. It had about $50,000 in it. I was about to call and give him a piece of my mind, but I thought better of it. The money on that card was only a small portion of what I had saved over the years. Daniel had a high salary and good bonuses. Before he started cheating, he gave me all of his money every month to manage. I had also secretly built up my own private fund. If I spent $300 a day, I would tell him I spent $750. If I spent $750, I would say $1,500. I put some of the extra money into the main account, the one he just took, and the rest into a different bank card that only I knew about. Adding in the money from our wedding and the spending money his parents sometimes gave me, my private fund was nearly $200,000. As a woman, you always have to plan an escape route for yourself. After Daniel left, life at home went on as usual. His last update was at the end of the month. "Guys, my free life has just begun. I'm going to enjoy it first." Attached was a photo of two hands clasped together under a sunset, and the IP address showed he was abroad. I pretended to know nothing and continued to take care of our daughter and his parents. 2 days later, my father-in-law suddenly fell and had a cerebral hemorrhage. He was rushed to the emergency room. My mother-in-law frantically called Daniel, but no one answered after 30 calls. She hurried to Daniel's company, but they told her there was no business trip and that Daniel had quit a month ago. Daniel had completely vanished. My mother-in-law panicked and was about to call the police. I sobbed in front of her. "Mom, what do we do? It seems Daniel tricked me." I pretended to be at a loss and confessed everything about the fake divorce. "Mom," I cried, tears and snot running down my face, "he even secretly took the bank card. Don't you think he has another woman outside? He purposely used work as an excuse to trick me into a divorce to clear the way for his mistress. He took all the money, and now Dad needs money for a life-saving surgery. What are we going to do?" "That scumbag!" My mother-in-law fumed, stamping her feet. In the end, she rolled her eyes and fainted on the spot. I secretly smiled, then dutifully paid for my in-laws' hospital fees. My father-in-law's surgery was a success, and my mother-in-law was slowly waking up. As she came to, she saw my empty wrist. The gold bracelet she gave me on my wedding day was gone. "Allison, where is your bracelet?" I pulled my hand back, lowering my head to hide the sadness in my eyes, but also subtly revealing my neck, which no longer had a necklace. At the same time, I quietly put some eye drops in my eye. Dad needed money for his surgery, but Daniel tricked us and took all the money. I had no choice but to sell my jewelry. It should be enough for a while, Mom. Don't worry. Daniel might be heartless, but I'll never forget how good you two have been to me. I won't abandon you." My mother-in-law was so moved, she teared up, holding my hand tightly and sobbing for a long time. Then she seemed to make a decision. "Allison, Daniel has wronged you and our child. It's all our fault for not raising him right. From now on, you are our daughter. I'll pretend I never had that scumbag." I was ecstatic inside, but I feigned tears of gratitude. "Mom, don't say that. You and Dad have always been like my real parents." A week later, my father-in-law was moved from the ICU to a regular room. I went home for a bit to cook, and when I returned to the hospital, I saw the two of them looking at me with teary eyes. My mother-in-law pulled me down to sit beside her and took a bank card from her pocket, pressing it into my hand. "Allison, this is all our life savings. $150,000. It's all yours now." "Mom, I can't take this money." I tried to refuse, but she insisted. "Honestly, I planned to take it out the day your dad was admitted, but you were so anxious to pay for his fees that you sold all your jewelry. Sweetie, just think of this as our compensation to you for Daniel's actions. You have to accept it. Besides, didn't we already say that from now on you are our daughter? You shouldn't be embarrassed to take an allowance from your parents." My mother-in-law spoke so sincerely, and my father-in-law nodded in agreement. At this point, it would be rude not to accept. Just as I had predicted, I hadn't bet on the wrong thing. When I married Daniel, a big reason was his family. His parents were kind, humble, and knew the difference between right and wrong. Every time Daniel and I argued, they never took his side. Instead, they always told him to be more accommodating to his wife. So when I found out Daniel was cheating and wanted to trick me, I immediately decided to slowly take his place in his parents' hearts. Of course, I did it for my own benefit as well. My in-laws were both retired civil servants with high pensions, so I wouldn't have to worry about their living expenses. In fact, after they passed, they would likely leave a substantial inheritance for me and my daughter. Many of their former colleagues and friends were now key figures in big organizations. If my daughter grew up in a family like this, she would have significant resources for her education and future career. If I had just stormed off with my daughter in a fit of anger, relying only on my meager savings, I definitely couldn't have given her such a good environment to grow up in. Only a fool would have resources and not use them. Daniel had always looked down on this kind of calculated behavior. I clutched the bank card tightly and laughed to myself at how stupid he was. Now the parents he once scorned and the social connections he dismissed were all mine. A month later, my father-in-law was discharged from the hospital. The after effects of the cerebral hemorrhage were quite serious. While his health was recovering well, he would need long-term physical therapy. Our house hadn't had a father figure for too long. My daughter was also starting to notice something was wrong. I didn't plan on hiding it from her. Another man might appear in this house, but it would never be Daniel again. His role as a father was completely replaceable. My daughter was 4 years old and starting to understand things. It might be a little cruel, but it's better for her to know the truth sooner than to live in a sweet but fake illusion. 3 years later, my daughter was accepted into the most prestigious elementary school in the city. My father-in-law had fully recovered and went to the park every morning to play chess with the other old men in the neighborhood. My mother-in-law did morning exercises in the town square, went to the market, cooked lunch, and picked up our granddaughter from school in the afternoon. I started working at a tech company owned by a son of my father-in-law's old colleague, earning about $100,000 a year. Our whole family had completely forgotten about Daniel's existence. But some people just can't stay in their graves. Even in death, they have to cause chaos. Years later, Daniel's old post was updated again. The IP address was still from abroad. He left a comment on his own update. "Hey guys, after living with my mistress for a few years, I found that it's not all that special. I'm getting bored now. Any advice on how to get back with my wife and kid?"
Does he think I'm a bus stop? He thinks he can just leave and come back whenever he wants? When I got home from work, I talked to my in-laws. Today, someone from the neighborhood called. They said Daniel has been missing for 3 years and by law can be considered dead. They asked when I would go to finalize the household deregistration. Saying that, my heart was a little nervous. After all, he was their only son. What if they still had hope? What if they went soft? To my surprise, as soon as I finished speaking, my mother-in-law opened a drawer, pulled out the household registration book, and handed it to me. "The household registration office is open tomorrow. Can you get that certificate done in 1 day? If you're free, go. If not, I'll call Miss Jones at the neighborhood committee to help. I'll wake up early tomorrow, take my grandchild to school, and then go straight there." My father-in-law also said, "I'll ask them what documents are needed so you don't have to make multiple trips." They didn't hesitate for a second. They were determined to cut ties with their son. This turned Daniel from a missing person into a deceased one. Even if he came back, he would be a person without a household registration. This also completely cleared my own heart of any remaining worries. The registration process went smoothly. Daniel's personal information was permanently erased from our household registration book. I also hired someone to secretly report his zombie-like post, and it was eventually taken down. With the good news, my spirits soared. Because of my good performance, I was promoted at work. The woman who once reached out for her husband's allowance was now a high-income office worker, admired by everyone. In the 4th year of Daniel's disappearance, my in-laws started to worry about finding me a new husband. Honestly, I decided I wouldn't even think about dating again until they passed away. But they were more anxious than I was. They were afraid that after they were gone, there wouldn't be a man in the house, and my daughter and I would be bullied and have a hard life. So they started digging through all their old contacts, carefully screening and introducing me to 7 or 8 eligible men. I didn't want to refuse their kindness, so I carefully considered my options and decided to go on a date with the most suitable one. My new boyfriend's name was David. I chose him not only because he worked for the Department of Education, but also because he owned an apartment in the best high school district in the city. My daughter would be starting high school in a few years, and if David and I worked out, her future would be much easier. Of course, there was an even more important reason. David agreed to my condition that if we married, I would bring my in-laws with me. Even though Daniel was an animal, his parents were like my own now. In the 6th year of Daniel's disappearance, a new area development policy was enacted, and our house was set to be reclaimed. Besides the compensation money, we were given 2 new apartments. My in-laws talked it over and decided to give the 2 apartments to me and my daughter. That new year, David and I officially got engaged. The apartment in the school district was seen as a betrothal gift from his family. After the holiday, our old house was torn down, and I moved to the new apartment with my in-laws to prepare for my daughter's high school. My mother-in-law laughed happily, and my father-in-law was polite and refined. They quickly made friends with the new neighbors. David also moved in with us. He treated my daughter as his own and my in-laws as his own parents. We became a perfect family again. The role of the man that had been missing from our family was now fully filled by David. After both families talked, David and I set our wedding date for June. As the wedding day approached, Daniel, the man who had been missing for years, suddenly came back. The day of our wedding, a day before the ceremony, David and I were having our rehearsal at the hotel. My in-laws brought our daughter along, and the 3 of them sat in the guest area excitedly watching us. Suddenly, the hall doors were pushed open. A man who looked like a disheveled lunatic barged in. He angrily lunged toward me, muttering nonsense. Before you could get close, David kicked him, sending him flying. Hotel security immediately rushed over to remove him. As they held him, he struggled and screamed, "Let me go! Allison, you bitch! You cheated on me and betrayed me! Mom and Dad, it's me! It's Daniel! I'm back!"
I walked closer and peered at the face behind the greasy hair. It really was Daniel. I laughed disdainfully, taking 2 large steps back, my face clearly showing my disgust. "Didn't you die? You're the one who's dead, bitch. I'm alive and well. Allison, you couldn't stand to see me live a good life, could you, you evil woman? The minute I was gone, you stole my family's money and cheated on me. Now you're getting married to some other guy?" Before he could finish, a resounding slap rang out. I hadn't even noticed my in-laws had gotten closer. My mother-in-law slapped him square in the face. "Mom!" Daniel held his face, stunned. "I'm your son. It was her who betrayed me. Why are you hitting me?" My mother-in-law slapped him again. "My son died a long time ago. Security, get this imposter out of here. Who does he think he is, crashing a wedding?" Daniel struggled wildly, screaming, "Mom, it's really me. I'm not dead. Allison tricked you. I'm alive right here, and you're saying I'm dead? What's wrong with you?" At this point, what awaited him wasn't a slap, but my father-in-law's steel cane. He struck him hard on the back of his knee, making him fall to the ground and kneel. The sound of his knees hitting the floor made everyone cringe. "You're alive, huh? Then why didn't you come home or contact us for so many years? Why didn't you answer the phone when your dad was in the hospital dying? Why did you use work as a reason to trick Allison into a divorce? Why did you take the family's bank card and run off?" Each question was like a slap to his face. In the end, Daniel hung his head, his face pale, unable to say a word. My father-in-law cursed him out, then hit him hard on the back with his cane. "You heartless scumbag. I've considered you dead a long time. Get lost and don't ruin Allison's happy day." Daniel's eyes widened in disbelief. He knelt and looked up at us, his eyes vacant. "Mom and Dad, what kind of spell did Allison put on you? I'm your real son. You're kicking me out for someone who isn't even blood related? Wait until you're old and can't move, then let's see who takes care of you." My mother-in-law spat in his face. "If we had to rely on you to take care of us, your dad and I would rather jump into a river and die." Daniel was personally ordered by his parents to be dragged out of the hotel by security. As he was being pulled away, he pointed at me from a distance, cursing me, calling me a swindler, and threatening to call the police to have me arrested. I just stood there with my arms crossed, not saying a word, just smiling a cold, faint smile at him. It took my in-laws a moment to calm down. They turned to me and patted my back. "Allison, don't pay any attention to that scumbag's nonsense. In our hearts, he's been dead a long time. From now on, you are our only daughter." My daughter raised her little fists and said sweetly, "Mommy, I'll protect you. If that bad man comes back, I will hit him for you." David blamed himself. "Allison's parents, this is my fault. I thought today was just a rehearsal, so I didn't arrange for enough security, and I let him sneak in. Don't worry. Tomorrow, I'll double the number of security guards at the hotel. I'll make sure no unrelated person shows up at our wedding." Everyone in the family was on high alert for Daniel. David was true to his word. The next day, he not only increased the hotel security, but he also hired a professional bodyguard team from a security company to stand guard at every corner in and out of the hall. They all had Daniel's face memorized. He tried every way he could to sneak into the wedding, but he was recognized and immediately kicked out. He was so enraged that he just stood across the street, screaming threats at the hotel. I didn't care about his threats one bit. Now, Daniel was a man with no household registration. No lawyer would even take his case. After the wedding, I went back to my busy work schedule. During my lunch break, a colleague in the office was laughing as she told a story. Last night, I was watching a lawyer's live stream and some guy called in for advice. He said he wanted to sue his ex-wife for property fraud. But after the lawyer asked for the details, he found out the guy tricked his wife into a fake divorce to go abroad with his mistress and then faked his death to cut off contact. Then, he heard that his old house was being redeveloped and came back to demand a share of the assets. But his ex-wife had already remarried, and his parents wouldn't even acknowledge him anymore. It's like a novel. The wife gets remarried with her in-laws after her husband fakes his death abroad. It's so ridiculous. The whole office burst into laughter. I was a little stunned. Isn't that me? I opened the link my colleague sent in the group chat and clicked on it. Sure enough, it was Daniel. Now, he was a social outcast with no household registration, and since no lawyer would take his case, he had to go on live streams to get legal advice. He probably thought his story would earn him sympathy and sway public opinion to his side. But over the past few years, the economy has developed, and people online have become more rational and level-headed. I scrolled through the comments, and most of them were calling him a scumbag. Some even laughed at him, saying he brought it all on himself. You did this to yourself. You lost everything you had. As I walked out of the company gate, Daniel suddenly rushed out from the side. "Allison!" He grabbed my arm, wanting to say something, but choked up. "Can we talk for a bit?" I glanced over and saw some colleagues looking on with curiosity. I didn't want my private matters talked about, so I said, "It's not convenient here." I led him to a nearby cafe right across from the police station. The owner was a friend of David's who had just gotten out of the military last year. It's better to be safe. I was afraid Daniel might go crazy and hurt me. As soon as Daniel saw the police station, his expression changed. I spoke frankly. "There's nothing left to say between us. We're divorced. I'm a married woman now, and you and I are nothing but strangers." Daniel suddenly stood up, his eyes red. "Allison, don't be so heartless. We agreed it was a fake divorce and that we'd get remarried when I came back. Why did you go and marry someone else? Now my daughter won't recognize me, my parents won't recognize me, and even you've turned your back on me." He cried pathetically, as if the whole world had betrayed him. I lost my patience and rolled my eyes. Daniel, who betrayed who first? Don't you know in your own heart? You disappeared for 6 years and abandoned your parents, wife, and child. Don't you feel any remorse? He craned his neck and argued. Honey, I didn't mean to lose contact. I got into an unexpected accident and was in a coma for a long time. I had my own troubles. Besides, I was working abroad to make money for our family. Before he could finish, I pulled out my phone and read out loud the screenshots of his old posts, one by one. How to trick my wife into a fake divorce to go abroad with my mistress, then fake my death to cut off contact. Enough, he yelled, both angry and panicked. How do you know all this? If you don't want others to know, don't do it in the first place. When you left, you must have been so proud of your clever plan. Now that you've had your fun, you suddenly remember your family? Do you think everyone would just stand still and wait for you to come back? Look at yourself. Do you deserve it? Everything you have today is the karma you created. Don't blame anyone else. That's all there is to say. Don't bother me and my family again, or I won't be so nice.
After I said that, I turned to leave. There was no point in getting tangled up with a man like him, but Daniel suddenly dropped to his knees in front of me and reached out, blocking me from leaving. Honey, I was wrong. It was my fault all those years ago. I shouldn't have lied to you. I'm a bastard. Please give me another chance. My parents don't want me, and my daughter doesn't recognize me. Now all I have left is you, honey. He kept calling me honey, which made me want to throw up. I couldn't help but dry heave. Daniel's eyes immediately changed, and he became furious. He stood up and gripped my shoulders. What does this mean, Allison? Are you pregnant? You're pregnant with that other guy's kid? Cheating on me wasn't enough? You had to get pregnant with someone else's baby? My shoulders were in agonizing pain. I immediately kicked him. What I do is none of your business. Get lost. The next second, he pulled a fruit knife from his waistband, yelling as he lunged at me. Allison, you ruined everything for me, and now you're pregnant with someone else's kid? You dirty woman don't deserve to live. Die. Before he could reach me, I grabbed a cup from the table and threw it at his head. He froze for a second, and in that moment, the cafe owner rushed over from behind and kicked him, sending him flying. Daniel fell to the ground, and before he could get his bearings, the owner had him in a headlock and marched him over to the police station. I told you, being near a police station is like having a lucky charm. When my in-laws arrived at the station, Daniel and I had just finished giving our statements. The cafe's security camera clearly showed that he had intended to harm me and that I had only acted in self-defense. Since he had no valid household registration, Daniel was honorably sentenced to 15 days of administrative detention. As he stumbled out of the office, his face ashen, my mother-in-law rushed up and slapped him several times without holding back. My father-in-law held his steel cane and beat Daniel into a human spinning top. Even the police couldn't stop them. Daniel ran around, clutching his head, screaming in despair. Mom and Dad, look carefully. I'm your son. My father-in-law, a refined gentleman his whole life, spat on him. I don't have a bastard son like you. My mother-in-law took the deregistration paper from her purse and shoved it in his face. Read this carefully. My son died years ago. Daniel slumped to the ground, his face drained of all color, holding his head and sobbing. How did it end up like this? My heart was completely calm. This was the consequence of his own actions. He had no one to blame but himself. Ignoring his deranged crying, I led my in-laws away from the police station. That night, my mother-in-law worriedly talked to me. She wanted to buy an insurance policy and name me as the beneficiary. She said, in case that scumbag does something to piss me off so much that I die, at least I'll leave a little something for you and my granddaughter. It's a shame your father had surgery, so the insurance company won't accept him, or I would have bought 2 policies. I hugged her arm and comforted her. Mom, don't worry. I'll handle this. You and Dad just enjoy your golden years. My mother-in-law looked at me half believing. Are you sure? Or should Dad and I just get rid of him tonight when no one is looking? She had been watching too many short videos online. As she said that, she made a throat-slitting motion, a fierce look on her face.
After all, at our age, even if we go to jail, we won't serve a long time. Think of it as your dad and I helping you get rid of a pest. I immediately decided I would have to delete all the short video apps from her phone later. And when I said I would handle it, I wasn't just trying to reassure my mother-in-law. From the moment I saw Daniel again, I had hired someone to investigate his life over the past few years. I soon got the results. It turned out his mistress was a new intern in his team named Hannah. After they went abroad, things were passionate at first, but as their money ran out, they started fighting constantly. In the third year, Hannah cleaned out Daniel's remaining money and hooked up with a local gang leader. It was at that exact time that Daniel posted his last update. When he found out Hannah had betrayed him and confronted her, the gang leader's thugs beat him to within an inch of life. He had to stay in the hospital for almost a year. The accident he mentioned wasn't a lie after all. When he was discharged, his visa had expired and he had no money. To make a living, he had to work odd jobs abroad, but with an expired visa, he risked being arrested and jailed. To avoid prison, he married the dark-skinned sister of a restaurant owner where he was working, becoming a foreign husband to get a green card.
One day, he saw the land reclamation information for his old house online. He realized the house had been torn down a long time ago, and he hadn't received a single dime. He was living like a dog abroad, and the more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He stole money from his wife and snuck back to the U.S. on a fishing boat. When I got the photos and information from the private investigator, I burst out laughing. No wonder he looked like a bum and smelled so strongly of fish. Since he already had a wife and kid abroad, why not send him back to his happy family? Based on the contact information in the report, I found Daniel's foreign wife. Half a month after his detention ended, as Daniel walked out of the police station, a large, dark hand grabbed his ear. He widened his eyes, not believing the person standing in front of him. His dark-skinned wife, Vilya, had traveled halfway across the world to find her runaway husband. She was 5 or 6 months pregnant and slapped him so hard his teeth nearly fell out. Daniel was like a baby chicken in her hand, unable to fight back. The police officers were about to intervene, but I stopped them. It's just a family dispute between a couple from different countries. I'm sure they'll work it out. In the end, because he had no household registration in the U.S., had a green card abroad, and had a wife and child abroad, Daniel was forcibly deported. I heard that on the plane, his eyes were black and he was limping, but he still had to force a smile and flatter his dark-skinned wife. After all, he had no place in the U.S. anymore. If his wife dumped him next month, he would be more miserable than he was in hell. As for me, I continue to live my easy life. With a gentle husband, a good daughter, and loving parents-in-law, a bright future is right in front of me.